What's going on, YouTube? We're back here with another video on Etheria restart, and we're gonna be talking about what characters you should prioritize 6-star in for your general progress of the account. So obviously when you're playing Etheria restart, you're gonna be leveling up your characters, and in my opinion, I feel like this is the best way to go about it. I would say your first two 6-star characters should be DPS characters, especially DPS characters that you could use in various places. So for example, someone like me, I went with Messiah and the Ting because I could use both of them in PvP. Messiah more lightly, even though I haven't been playing PvP that much because I'm trying to build out my account and my characters and gear. But there were two characters I could use in there, but also characters I was using in PvE a lot. Obviously you could use them in limited time events, the Ember Trek, Ethernet Rally and so on, but mostly for the shells and modules, because that's what you're going to be playing a lot and grinding a lot in the game, especially for the first month, I would say, at least, because that's what it seems like, and you're going to be grinding that. So you want to have the characters, especially DPS characters, that you're going to be using there. So for example, my Messiah, I use him in Doki Doki, the Ting, all the shell bosses, I use the Ting. He's just goated in all of them, especially on the Infernals ones that I've done so far. I've been using the Ting, and Terramonton and Aurora is where I've been using the Ting. So 6-star in these two characters were easy for me and it made sense, and I feel like the best way to go about it is 6-star in 2 DPS units first, because you want your DPS units are going to carry you at the start of the game. You want them to be leveled up as much as you can, and you just want them to have the extra HP, extra attack and stuff like that, just because they're going to be carrying your account, especially at the start. So yeah, my personal opinion, I think the first two characters you should 6-star are DPS characters that you're going to be using in the module bosses, shell bosses, and if you're also able to use them in PvP, amazing too. Now after you 6-star your 2 DPS characters, I believe you should go and 6-star 2 support characters, okay? And kind of the same thing like DPS characters, the support characters that you're going to be using in a lot of content, shell drops, modules, I would say 6-star them first. And if they are characters you could also use in PvP, especially as openers, that will also be amazing. And the reason why you want to do your supports after is because you want them to be fast as possible. So getting them to 6-star is going to be important, because you're going to get that extra speed when you awaken them to 6 stars. And you're going to want every piece of speed that you can get, because sometimes you might not get as lucky on modules and stuff to get the speed that you want or you're looking for. I'm pretty sure when it comes to support characters on all the modules, you probably want everything to go into speed. When it comes to shells, you will probably love to get the red version of the shadow dash. So just being able to give your support characters the extra stats, to survive and so on, with the extra HP, extra defense, but also extra speed, so you can rotate better and beat bosses out to the first turn. Because sometimes taking the first, actually not even sometimes, taking the first turn in PvE does change a lot of the way how the fight could go. It just really helps you, especially if you're able to push back or freeze or whatever with whatever support characters you're 6-starring or that are really fast, just so you can get more extra rotations in before the enemies take turns. So yeah, 6-starring your support characters I think is important, and it's something you should do after you 6-star 2 DPS units. So someone like me, I went with Kloss and Lily, 2 characters I could use as openers. Probably not the best openers in PvP because they don't exactly push back or anything, but with Lily, if she wins the race, I could just buff my DPS character and he'll take his turn, and everyone else is going to speed up as well. Kloss, debuff, she could speed down, defense down, so her, if she wins the race, then is also good as well. But these are obviously 2 support units I'm using everywhere in PvE, so that will help. So I would say 2 DPS units to 6-star first, especially if they're characters you're going to be using in module drops and shell bosses. Then after you 6-star 2 DPS characters, I'll say 6-star 2 support characters, ones that you could hopefully use as openers in PvP, but also use a lot in PvE content as well, with the module bosses and the shell bosses. So after you've done that, I honestly believe you could probably freestyle and just make your own decisions. If you feel like you need to 6-star another DPS character, you could go ahead. I kind of did that with Tiamat because I wanted to have someone extra in PvP, so that's why I went for another somewhat of a DPS character with Tiamat. So yeah, you could kind of just make your decision on your own after your 2 DPS characters and your 2 supports. If you need an extra DPS that you're probably using in a different module boss or for PvP, I would say go ahead. You can see I've only got 5 6 stars, and to be fair, I'm not even using Tiamat in any PvE content, and I haven't even really used them in PvP because I haven't finished building her. But I've been able to do Infernal content with literally, you know, 4 6 stars. You know, when it comes to healers, I don't really feel like you have to 6-star them. You know, they kind of just work with the way how they are. Now, I'm not saying not 6-starring them would not help. You know, the extra HP for them to heal more and everything else, extra speed, extra defense, obviously it will help. You know, but I don't think you have to prioritize them as much as DPS and support characters, I would say. But eventually getting there is something you probably want to do with your healers. So yeah, after your first 2 DPS characters, then the 2 supports, I truly feel like you could just choose whoever you want at that point. If you're using a character a lot that you know is good and you're just using them in various places, especially in important content, I guess you could go 6-star them. If you just want to build up another character for a PvP or something like that, you could go ahead and do that. But for me, I just always... But after that, as I said, man, you can really just choose. Just look at the team comps you're using, what characters you're using a lot, what character could, you know, benefit from being a 6-star. I think at the first, just 6-star 2 DPS units that you're using in the module drops and shell drops. If they work in PvP, amazing. Then 6-star 2 support units to, you know, get them the extra speed. And if they're 2 support units, make sure it's, you know, units that you're using in the module bosses and in shell bosses. And if they also work in PvP, that's an added bonus. But, you know, at the start of the game, your main focus is going to be PvE, whether you like it or not. So you just got to have, you know, your characters built out for that. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys this little guide and little tip. That's going to be it from me. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, run up. I'll catch y'all in the next one. I'm out.